Hey, welcome back to Random Grannie. I'm your favorite Black, elderly, autistic person. And, I've been a little bit too serious lately. Life's been a little heavy. So today, we're going to talk about the lighter side of autism. First off, I have a new microphone because I have a lot of fans going when I do my videos because I like the feel of the fans and I like the noise. And so it's been picking up on camera, on the video. And so I've got this new microphone, so we're going to try it out and see how it works. And I hope you can hear me okay. And I hope I'm not too loud and obnoxious, which I am loud and obnoxious. So I wanted to come on here and talk about the lighter side of things because I've just been taking life way too serious. Let's be funny today. I'm tired of being serious all the damn time. And I wear my hair out again this week, and she's big and she's cute, and I love her. And I've just been so lazy lately. I haven't wanted to do twists or anything like that. So I've just been doing my hair and then just styling her with my products, and then pretty much just wearing her in a bun or a ponytail, and that's working pretty good. So, but anyway, I want to talk about some of the funnier sides of being autistic. And it all started with my husband, actually. And all of the little funny, annoying things that I do. And one of the one of the funny things that he appreciates about me and that I appreciate about me is, I've got this childlike mind, and I'm okay with that. I used to be kind of embarrassed about it, but now I'm kind of okay with it because it's like I'd rather be a funny adult that's more childlike, than an old acting asshole like most old people my age. I hate hanging around old people my age because they're such downers. They're just like so old and crotchety and "Hmm, they're just so serious because they've lived life." Whatever. I've lived it too. There's that. I prefer to live it, on the fun side. My husband says that I'm like I'm like a not a Disney character, but I'm like Disney. I've got this perpetual optimism, and I live through, unicorns and rainbows, and life is magical and life is wonderful, and things are always going to work out. And to his detriment, he's like, "Oh, is everything with you always, about rainbows and sunshine?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because why would you want to be miserable all the time?" I don't want to be miserable. I'd rather be, happy and carefree. I think that that's really funny. And I've been like that my whole life. Even when I was a kid, when things were going wrong or things were going bad, I'd be like, well, think of it this way, it's something that we learned, or well, I guess we know not to do that next time, and, blah, blah, blah. And so now I kind of understand why my friends would always get kind of like irritated with me because they'd be like, is everything just always okay with you? And of course it wasn't. Now I know that I was masking a lot too, my my childlike behaviors. You gotta mask your childlike behaviors because grow up. You're so immature. Part of me wants to say I'm I'm childish and immature. Thanks. And the other part of me is like, well, I'm offended. I'm as much of an adult as you are. I just prefer not to look at everything, negative all the time because who wants to do that? That's what I've been doing with my autism diagnosis and my ADHD. I'm seeing the negative right now, but then again, I'm telling myself it's not negative. I'm just gaining like, new insight, so that's what I call it. But yeah, I'm a perpetual optimist and I'm not going to apologize for that. I really like that about myself. Okay, I'm going to go in with my pure apricot oil. You guys know the deal. So I'm going to detangle with that. And then I will be following up with my spray bottle, and my African Pride pre-shampoo. So the other thing that's kind of on the lighter side for me is my sarcastic humor. And the funny thing about that is I don't understand sarcastic humor from other people unless I'm like watching a comedian, because like I love George Carlin, and I love like um what's that show called? It's Sunny in Philadelphia or something or other, and there's a couple of really sarcastic shows out there I like. And so if sarcasm is presented in the way of humor, and I know the concept of the thing is sarcastic, I get it. But I don't get sarcastic humor from like regular people. Like if they're being sarcastic about something, I don't really understand that. So that's kind of weird. But the funny humorous thing for me is I think I am so funny. I think I'm hilarious. And what's funny about that is I'm the only person that thinks I'm funny. Nobody else gets my humor. And that kind of makes me sad a little bit. But then at the same time, it kind of makes me feel different and unique. It kind of makes me feel like I'm having an inside joke with myself. You know how you're supposed to have inside jokes, like with your partner or with your friends or something like that? No, I have inside jokes with myself because I realized why I think I'm so funny is because I have my own internal audience. And I just realized this the other day. And so this is what's going on. I've decided that I am four separate people. There's me that you see. And then my right brain is my ADHD. I call her Dee Dee for ADHD. So this is Dee Dee. And then on my logical side, my left brain side, is my autistic brain, my autism Lizzie. And so this is Lizzie over here. So I'm Random Grannie. Meet Dee Dee, meet Lizzie, and my hair, her name is Cassandra. And if you've watched Doctor Who, if you know, you know why her name is Cassandra. And if you're curious, go Google it because it's pretty funny. And so I decided this last night while I was being funny in my head to myself, laughing to myself. And my husband's looking at me like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, oh, just living in my head with all my girls. We're being funny right now. And it dawned on me that we all think I'm funny and we all get my humor and we're all on the same page. And it's dawning on me that not everybody on the outside of my little, my little world, they don't get my humor. And the funny thing is, if they don't get my humor or if it goes over their head, I think that's funny too. So not only do I think I'm funny, but I think it's funny when people don't catch my humor or think I'm being funny. That just cracks me up. I think I'm funny. I think all of my girls are funny. And quite honestly, that humor has saved me and has gotten me through a lot of not too funny situations. So the other thing I find funny, well, don't judge me. The other thing I find funny are people that cry. And I don't mean like, they're crying for something, serious, like somebody, close to them died or something like that. And, or, something sad happened. I mean, I can understand that. What I can't understand, and this is mostly women, don't get me wrong, but, women are weird. We do strange things. And I'm going to say y'all do strange things because I don't do those girly things. I don't cry about nothing. I think that's weird. So, anyway, I talked about this once before, but I had this job once, and one of my employees came up to me out of the blue and just started crying and blubbering. And she was like, last year I was, the top, you know, club card getter, and and I had the most, and I didn't get my jacket, and they just took advantage of me, and blah blah blah. And she was like crying like tears. And I remember saying, ugh, why are you doing that? Why are you leaking? I said, I can't hear you. I don't understand a word coming out of your mouth. All I see is like leakage. I'm going to need you to stop that because I can't hear you. Come back to me when you're done doing all that. Well, she didn't appreciate, my response to her tears. And, she went to HR, and, of course, HR came talking to me. And I'm like, she was crying about something that happened last year. I wasn't even here then. And she has her jacket. I said, it was totally random. I said, I don't understand it. I said, all I know is that, she needed to just get back to work because I don't understand why you're over here. So anyway, I was told that I needed to learn how to be more um, gentle and kinder. It was my first management position I had ever had, and and so I wasn't quite sure how to work with people. I mean, I thought you just work with people, like they're normal, like people. And apparently, I didn't know I was autistic back then, and apparently, that just was not logical to me. And I'm like, I don't understand why you're acting like that. So that was kind of funny. And the other thing about people that are crying like that is like, I can't help it. I automatically think that you want attention because if it doesn't make any sense or you're just crying out of the blue, then what's going on. Now, have I cried before when I've been, when do I, oh, well, I have been, I haven't cried, but I have literally been brought to tears by my anger. That I'm in a situation where I've gotten so angry that I need to, now I know I was masking. I need to put that mask on so tight and just crank it, crank it, crank it, crank it. And when I can't crank it anymore, the pressure needs to go somewhere and it comes out in tears because I'm angry. And those people that know me, they're like, oh my God, if she's got tears in her eyes, and we know she doesn't cry, she's about to blow everybody back up. But so I cry, and I do cry when I'm sad, but it has to be like a lot. But I cry in a way that's appropriate for me, and I don't cry in public like to people. So I think that's funny. And so, anyway, there's that. So if you're crying at me and I am looking like I don't care, it's because I don't. The other thing that has caused me, I shouldn't say issues, I shouldn't, but maybe I should. But my other thing is I'm just very blunt. And I call it the lighter side of autism because we're just blunt individuals. We're not being rude, we're not being inconsiderate. We're just communicating, and quite honestly, we wish you would do the same. And neurotypicals out there, it's so funny. It's like their whole persona and their whole thing of communicating is, twirling around issues and everything like that. Well, you know, I'm laser focused, and I'm very blunt. And being blunt has led to some very interesting, funny type things. Funny for me. And you know what? Of course I'm talking about, the funny side or the lighter side of autism from my perspective. I hope you realize that, right? This isn't like, the normal typical person, because there's a whole bunch of different types of autistic people. I'm talking about me specifically. And so being blunt and brutally honest has its light-hearted moments. And for example, I'll never forget one of my friends a long, long time ago, and this is of course before I knew I was autistic and ADHD and all those other buzzwords. And she was like, um, she goes, oh, blah blah blah. She goes, um, do I look fat? Do I look like I've been gaining weight and getting fat? I was like, Mary, you know better. Don't ask me anything if you don't want to know the answer because I can't, like lie and I don't sugarcoat things. She's like, well, that's why I'm asking you. She goes, because blah blah blah. And, am I getting fat? And I said, yes, you are. I said, I'm actually quite stunned by it, and you look like you're about 5 months pregnant. She looked at me like, really? I said, I told you not to ask me if you didn't want to know. I said, you can't be mad at me now and have an attitude with me now. I said, we just talked about this. And she was like, well, you're right. Sorry. She goes, but you're saying I look fat, right? And I was like, yes. Me and Mary have been friends since, like third or fourth grade. So it's like, there's absolutely nothing either one of us could do to like piss off the other person. So anyway, that's my other little lighthearted side of my autism. Okay, so the next one is one of my husband's favorite little funnies about me. My ears don't work. Literally, literally, my ears don't work. If I'm concentrating on something, or if you've said something and I'm trying to process it, I can't hear you. In my mind, I'm looking thoughtful, like I'm paying attention, but literally my mind is someplace else because you might have said something that I'm trying to process, and then you're like off on you're like on your sixth or seventh thing. And so, a little funny story. So, not too long ago, me and my husband were in the kitchen and we were chasing this big, huge bug. They have big, huge bugs down south here. And I had a box and he had a box, and we were trying to corner this thing, right? I mean, it was huge. I was going to try to corner it and put a saddle on it. I don't know, do something with it, feed it hay. I don't know. It was huge. And he's yelling and screaming at me, Tuts, do you have the box? Tuts, Tuts, do you have the box? Tuts, 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 Tuts. And just yelling and screaming at me. I didn't hear anything. It was the weirdest thing. When we got done and I stood up, and because I had missed the bug and it was on the other side of the table, and I was like, oh, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. It's over there, it's over there, it's over there. And he's like, didn't you just hear me yelling and screaming at you? When? He's like, right, just now. He goes, I was yelling and screaming at you at the top of my lungs. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you. And he he's like, oh my God. He goes, so when I've been like talking to you and yelling at you and you're like ignoring me, he goes, you really can't hear me. I said, I've been telling you all these years. I said, when I've told you that I can't hear you, I said, did you think I was lying? And he was like, yeah, because how could you not hear me? Guys, I had no idea. And when that happened, it was the first time ever in my life, with us both knowing that I'm highly neurodivergent, that everything finally made sense and kind of clicked. And he's like, you were hyper fixated, hyper focused, laser focused, and I had blocked everything out. You could have blown up the universe and I would not have heard it. A tornado could have hit. I wouldn't have felt it. I heard nothing. All I knew is what I was focusing on, and all I heard was my mind saying, don't look away. Focus, focus, focus. We can do this. We can get this bug. We can get this bug before the hubby gets the bug. We're winner. That's what I was thinking about. I remember what I was thinking about, but I don't remember him saying anything. And he said that he was yelling so loud that the neighbors could have heard. And I was embarrassed because I literally didn't hear a word he said. But then also at the same time, it was kind of funny because I was like, man, I didn't realize that I could, I didn't realize I could focus like that. Had I known that, maybe I would have gotten better grades in school. Another lighthearted thing for me is taking things literal. You guys, I never knew I took things literal. I thought I was like, an unliteral person, and it's not true. For example, I get confused when my husband's like telling jokes. I don't get his jokes. I take everything he says literal, and I never realized that I do that, but I do. I take everything he says literal and everything at face value. And it's just the weirdest thing because I actually caught myself doing it. And I was like, oh my God, I do that. I do it a lot. And, even like phrases and stuff like that, like, what's a good phrase? Killing two birds with one stone. I get the concept of what that means, doing two things at once instead of doing it twice. I kind of get the concept of that, but I'm not going to lie. Every time somebody says that, I literally see two birds flying in the sky, somebody with a slingshot killing and knocking the birds out of the sky. Then I have to tell my brain that's not what we're talking about, and then I have to reshape it and reframe it. I didn't realize that that's what I was doing, but now that I know I'm neurodivergent, I've really been paying attention to why I do weird things. Well, weird things to other people, but normal to me. See what I'm saying? And so I started just paying attention, and I'm like, man, I do that with everything. What's another one? But when I hear one in the hand is worth two in the bush or whatever it is, I literally see like a hand holding something and then a bunch of other somethings shoved in a bush. And then I physically think about digging through the bushes to see if I'd rather take a chance and win something in the bush or do I want to keep what I have. I literally have to go through all of those steps in my brain because I take things literal. I didn't know that. I thought I was, a free thinker and creative, and I could like spin on a dime with my thoughts. And oh, we're talking about this, and now we're doing this. I can't do that either, by the way. That's kind of funny. But yeah, I didn't realize that I took things literal. And now that I know that, I think of a whole bunch of different funny moments that have happened because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh shit, were they being funny or was that like a, a phrase or something? Or I can't think of what those words are called. If I do, I'll put it somewhere here. But I was like, I don't understand you. I don't know what that means. And so that's kind of funny. The taking things literal also kind of affected me at my jobs too, which wasn't so funny at the time, but I can laugh about it now looking on the outside because I would have a boss that would say something like, oh, well, you know, maybe you should think about getting that project done. It's going to be due soon. I took that literally to mean that maybe I should think about it. And I decided I didn't want to. And I work on something else. Then they would get mad at me and be like, well, why isn't this done? This is due tomorrow and you haven't even started it. And I'm like, well, why didn't you say something? And they're like, well, I said, this thing like 4 days ago. And I'm like, but you made it sound like it was a choice because I took you literal. I mean, if you need me to do something, say, I need you to stop what you're working on and work on this. It's due in 2 days. And guess what? I'll be like, oh, okay, because I understand that. So taking things literal, that's my other lighter side. Didn't know that, didn't I had if you would have told me I was a literal person, I would have called you a liar. So there. The other funny thing about me is I've never been a competitive person. I'm not competitive, but I like winning. And I'm going to use backgammon as an example because me and my husband play backgammon every night, and he gets so frustrated with me because he's like, "Don't you just like winning? Don't why aren't you just aren't you competitive?" Like, eh, you know. I so I like winning, but I'm not competitive. And sometimes I'll get really pissed when I don't win because nobody wants to lose all the time. Come on. But when I'm playing backgammon, it's not about winning for me. It's about making pretty patterns on the board with my checkers. Like they all line up in threes, or I've got them. They lined up and they look like a staircase, or something like that. Or, you know, I spelled my checkers like make the letter L, just something cool. And so that's what I enjoy, about board games and everything like that, especially backgammon. It's like what cool design can I make today? And I told him, I said, so for me, yes, I love winning. But for me, winning is surrounded by what patterns do I see in the checkers on the backgammon board? What pattern is he forming on his side of the board against what pattern am I forming on my side of the board? And when I roll my dice, I don't count the numbers and then count the spaces. I visually see the number and then I see the colors on the board and know where the pieces go. And so I automatically do it that way. So I'm not counting. But part of me will know if I want this square over here, I need a 4 and a 6. And so I'll just be like, I need a 4 and a 6 to be able to make this pattern. And I'll get a 4 and a 6. Totally pisses him off. But the last thing I kind of want to talk about is phrases and words. I I have favorite words and phrases that I like to say. And by the way, my medication is working really well today. I haven't taken it for a couple of days, and so I'm on my Adderall today. And I noticed that I'm fidgeting a lot less and I'm able to concentrate a little bit more. And so that's really good because um, my lips have been really dry. Matter of fact, I need to put some of this on there. I've been under so much stress and duress lately. I've been doing a lot of mouth stimming and a lot of biting in the corners of my mouth and everything like that. So I'm trying to get that under control a little bit, and trying to work through my burnout right now, and my shutdowns, and just trying to maintain some type of normalcy. That's why I wanted to do this little fun video today. Thought maybe it might cheer me up a little bit, and so far it's working. So far it's working. But anyway, I have favorite phrases and things that I like to say, and my phrases change throughout the year, but I typically have a favorite word that lasts me all year long. And so my favorite phrase right now is sycophants, acolytes, and minions. I love the way it hits the back of my throat. I love the way it feels in my mouth when I say it. I I love the way it sounds to my ears on the inside. Sycophants, acolytes, and minions. I love that phrase. And so it's so funny because every now and then I'll just say it like it'll just like pop out. And my husband will be saying something or we'll be watching TV and I'll be like, well, sycophants, acolytes, and minions. And he'll look at me like, oh, what? And I'm like, sycophants, acolytes, and minions. That's what it's all about. And so That's so funny. And I've done that, you guys. I've done that my whole life that I can remember all the way back. And people never realized that I was doing that because I either repeat things that I've heard other people say, like sycophants, acolytes, and minions. I heard somebody say that on a TikTok video, and I can't get it out of my mind. It's been like it's going on 3 months now, and it's still like my favorite thing to say. And then sometimes I come up with phrases of my own, and I can't think of one right now because sycophants, acolytes, and minions has just absolutely taken over my whole life, and I couldn't be happier. I love it so much. And so now I'm finding out that when I repeat things that I've heard, like movies and stuff like that, I used to repeat a lot of movie lines and stuff like that. I've forgotten them because I recycle things. I'm not that autistic person that says the same movie phrase 20, 30, 40 years later. I like to mix mine up and I like new things. And so I'll hone in on something new and then that'll be my phrase, for a while, however long that is. And my word choices, I usually keep my favorite words for the whole year. And I do that on purpose, actually. Like around January, I'm like, okay, what new word do I want? And so it's not that I like just pick one. I wait and see what calls to me. And this year, the word is lovely. I love that word. And I don't know if it's because I've been watching a lot of British TV because I love British TV and I love British humor. Hilarious. And I think I might have gotten it from there, but I'm not sure. But I love saying, oh, isn't that lovely? That's so lovely. Isn't that lovely? And I like saying it, several different ways. And I like how it feels on my tongue. And like I think it was last year was gorgeous. It's gorgeous. That's so gorgeous. And the year before that was sumptuous. Sumptuous. I might have to go back to that one. I still kind of like that one. But right now, my new favorite word is lovely. And and it's so funny because I asked my husband, I'm like, haven't you ever had like a favorite word or anything like that you like to use? And he's like, no, Toots, that's not a thing. And I'm like, not a thing? Should be a thing. And so anyway, wow. When you're talking about fun stuff, the work goes really fast, doesn't it? So those are, I don't know how many of those were, 7 or 8 things that I find lighthearted about my autism. And I think I'm going to make a series out of this. There's definitely going to be more. And so with that said, I'm done with my hair. Let me show you what I'm going to be using in my hair this week. And I don't even know what's going on. I'm random stuff in my hair today. But I am using my Alake Naturals. And this is one of my favorite all-time leave-ins. Matter of fact, I bought it in the gallon size because the ADHD side of me, Dee Dee, she's impulsive. The logical side of me today, Autism Lizzie over here, she's like, you have stuff that you need to get used up like super quick because you've had it for almost a year now and it's time to use it. So I'm going to be using this. It's by African Pride and it's the Gel and Cream Curl Definer 3-in-1 curl training system. Whatever the hell that means. I don't know. You put it on your hair and your hair curls up, right? Good enough for me. I'm going to end this video by showcasing my favorite word this year, lovely. It has been so lovely spending time with you today. You're all such lovely people, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And I can't wait to see you in my next video.